Hello, I'm Brad. We're going to continue to talk in this video about the avant-garde in music and some particular turns it took that kind of John Cage was involved in. But I don't want to imply that it was just Cage. There were a number of threads that came together to form this kind of bizarre avant-garde we're going to talk about today. In particular, the art movement called dada, which was back in the early 1900s. Okay. 1910s, 1920s, actually right during World War I, because a lot of artists, what they did was they fled to Switzerland, which was neutral, and kind of hung out there to avoid the atrocities of the war. And a group in particular, founded by Tristan Tzara and a guy named Hugo Ball, created this incredibly fun movement called dada, which was basically art has almost no meaning, or it's nonsensical. And they founded a club called Cabaret Voltaire. And I'll just give you a sense of one of the performances there. This is a dada performance by Hugo Ball. And yeah, this is fun to watch.
Olifanto bambla, ufalli bambla, rosija fahabla hor, egiga forava, igu bloiko rusula huju, holaka holala, alagu bum, blagu bum, posso fataka, subudu bulu, asamakusa, data baunka, kusa kaula.
Okay. So that wasn't a prepared piano. That was just like a really trashy piano. But they were kind of having a lot of fun with this stuff. And in particular, one guy affiliated with that Dada movement, Marcel Duchamp. Okay, he was born in 1887 and lived to the ripe old age, 1968. He came to New York and became a very close friend of John Cage's. And this ferment, what was happening in New York with Cage and his kind of radical ideas, Cage gave a series of lectures at the New School in the late 1950s, 57 to 59, and this attracted a group of interesting people that were very intrigued by it. Jackson McClough, Lamont Young, George Brecht, Dick Higgins, and another person I'll talk about in a second. And they formed a movement kind of loosely based on Dada that they called fluxus. And Duchamp was kind of their spiritual godfather for this. And they, I guess you'd call them, part of this music that was beginning to take shape, but it was a very expanded notion, a la Cage, of what music could be. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you this. This is one of the most famous works by the artist Marcel Duchamp. Again, you can see why this has such resonance with Cage's idea of letting in all sounds. Duchamp said anything can be art, and he signed it, R. Mutt. And you can still see this piece many places. Well, not many places, you know what I mean. Anyhow, big deal. But these guys in this fluxus movement started really kind of going berserk with the different things that you could do with conceptual approaches to music. Here's an example of one of their posters showing a performance that they did out on the street. Yeah, intriguing stuff. And this is that other member of Fluxus I wanted to talk about. A young Japanese female named Yoko Ono was also a member of Fluxus. And this is one of her most famous works with Fluxus. It's called The Cut Piece, where she invited people to come up from the audience and gradually cut off pieces of her clothing. So that was the performance. And finally, Lamont Young, we're going to hear more about him when we start talking about minimalism. But he had a wonderful piece where the score for the piece were bring a bucket of water and a bale of hay and feed it to a grand piano. So here's a piece being performed, a version of that. Quite something. I have not seen this piece, but I have experienced a lot of Lamont Young's music. Anyhow, so they were very involved. Again, some of the things were just crazy, and this is where it starts getting a little bit bizarre. Nam June Paik was a member of Fluxus. He's kind of the father of video art. but he did a series of pieces he called danger music, okay? And he did them for specific people. For example, his danger music for Dick Higgins, fellow member of Fluxus, was the instruction, creep into the vagina of a living whale. I think Dick Higgins had a danger piece where basically the audience formed in the theater, then they locked all the doors, and the piece was the audience had to figure out how to get out of the theater. Yeah, I'm not sure that's a good idea. But anyhow, they had a big influence on a lot of music, a lot of ways of doing music, and they're just kind of a fun group of people. Anyhow, so we're going to stop this here.